Hi, Algebra 2 students. I wanted to give you a quick little tutorial on how to use Desmos and to remind you of a few things as you go. First off, always remember to sign in. You can use your Google information to sign in, so when you click sign in with your Google account and select your account. When you do that, you now will see your name appear in the top corner. After you've signed in, the next thing you'll want to do is you'll want to make sure that your graph has a title. This title for my graph I'm creating here is just going to be a demo graph. Okay. I'm going to hit Save Graph, and now whenever I want to find it, I can go to the three lines in the top left-hand corner of my screen, and I can click on my demo graph and open it. The next thing I like to do is when I type in an equation, oftentimes the base settings just make the equation be very thin. For example, if I want to type in a linear equation, y equals 2x minus 5. Notice that this is going to be a graph that starts at -5 and has a slope of 2, so rise over run. If I want to make this line show up darker, I can switch it into projector mode by clicking on the little wrench symbol and then click on projector mode. I also can adjust my x and y axes using these scale factors here. If I want to zoom out, I can also scroll out by using the mouse. Many of you will be creating pictures for your project, and you'll need to make sure that you restrict your domain. That means restricting the x values. If I want this graph to be graphed from the point 0, x0, to the point 2.5, notice I can click right on the line and say I want it to end there. I can go up here, and I'm going to use the squiggly bracket, which is above the enter key on your keypad. It's shift and then that button, and I'm going to have it go 0 is less than x, which is less than 2.5. Now when you look at my graph, you can see that the only part of my graph that shows up is that line. Okay. Now let's say I would like to do a parabola graph that's upside down. Maybe I want to do y equals x squared, but that doesn't actually allow my graph to be upside down. It's right side up. If I want to reflect it over the x-axis, putting a negative out front allows that to occur. Now I would like this graph to meet up with this line that I've just created. So to do that, I'm going to shift it to the right. Now notice the squared is going to have to go on the outside of it. So I'm just going to take that out, and I'm going to go to the right, so I'm going to subtract 3, and I'm going to also make sure I go back and square it again. I also want to move this graph up maybe 5 units. Well, that's not what I wanted. I moved it up too far, or I need to move it over a little bit more. So I can play around with the numbers to move it over more, or maybe I only want to move it up 3 units. Looks like I still need to shift it over a little more, so how about we move it over to 5.5? That's not working. I'm going to need to dilate it. Let's see what 0.5 would do. Oh, I'm getting closer to what I want. Let's try 0.7. Oh, that didn't work. It made it more narrow. How about 0.3? Now I see a nice graph. But I don't want the graph to go that whole distance. So I'm going to have this graph start at 2.33 and end at 8.66. I did that just by highlighting over that point. Again, I'm going to grab that squiggly bracket. 2.33 is less than x, which is less than, was it 8.33? And I could do more. I could do 8.6 if I wanted to go a little bit farther. But if you look at now, my graph shows this picture. Looking pretty good. So I am seeing that I can change these. Now, if I wanted to shade under, or I wanted to include some shading, I could absolutely change this to an inequality. Notice that's now shading above it. If I changed it to the other inequality, it now shades below. If I make it just less than, notice that I get a dotted line. Some of you have been asking, how do you fill in a shape? In order to fill in a shape, you need to use the same equation over and over, and eventually it'll look like it's filled in. If you keep it in projector mode, you just have to translate that shape up or left or right just a little bit. Now, the next thing that some people have been asking about is how do you change color? To change color, you're going to click this gear symbol, and then you can click on the circle and select a different color for your graph. When you're done, click done, and you now have your colors happening. Okay? The last big question that I've had is how do you move a graph? So let's say I wanted to put in the circle x squared plus y squared equals 9. Now I have my circle. I want to make this graph be divided by 3. Now I have an ellipse. I'm just going to go ahead and put this in parentheses to make sure that it's all showing up there. And I'm going to go ahead and instead of having it be a 3, I'm going to make it the value of a. And then this nice option comes up to add a slider. Now if I hit play, my graph is going to stretch and shrink. I can speed that up here by using these arrows or slow it down. I can also change so that I don't want it to spread out that fast. Maybe I'd have it only go from 0 to 5. Now when I hit play, notice that it's only going to let that a value be 0 to 5, and then it's going to bounce back and allow it to continue growing. I hope these options allow you to get some new ideas for your pictures, and I hope that your projects turn out fabulous. Have a lovely day. Thanks for watching.